Alastair, the Webster-Howard incident is not your first such incident. Do you feel you have the capacity to change?
Oh, listen, we dealt with all that last week, mate, so I'm happy that last week's over and we just move into it. I've covered all that last, Monday through to Friday. So we're really in the position now where we just want to focus on this week rather than the past.
We previously said that this is something that's stuck with you since you were a kid, and that you would stick up for your players.
We said last week that we're going to put some things in place and we're going to try to...
What confidence should people have that you won't repeat this behaviour?
Who knows, mate, but we're just focusing on putting all our energies into GWS this week and trying to win a game of footy.
It's a big game this weekend. How are you prepared for that? And first game.
Yeah, well, it's exciting for us. The boys have done a lot of work, but as we saw last week, there's going to be 4 winners and 4 losers, and if you lose, you think that doesn't validate the good summer that you've had, and if you win, it sort of does. So there's always a big price to pay on the first game of the year, but we're as well prepared as we can be. We've got 42 players available out of our 44 listed, and our conditioning team have done a great job. Our boys have trained really, really hard. We know we've got a lot of ground to make up to the better sides in the competition, but having said that, we don't also think there's that huge a gap between first and 18th on the ladder too. So we know that history would suggest that there's opportunities for sides to jump up the ladder pretty quick, and if we work hard, get a bit of luck with injury, then we just want to see that the worm's heading in the right direction for our footy club, and to validate some of the decisions and the work that we've done over the last 18 months, and see where that takes us. We know that it's the long road for us rather than the short one, but we'll hopefully validate some of that throughout the course of the year for both ourselves and our fans.
George, incidents in the off-season, how's the playing group, handled that, and how's that line?
Yeah, no, they're all fine. I mean, the strange thing about footy clubs and playing groups in particular is they just want to play footy. They just want a patch of grass, goalpost at either end, and a red Tommy Sharon to kick around. And they've been waiting around since late August to get the opportunity to do that. We won our last game of the year against Gold Coast, and strangely enough, despite it being a pretty horrid year for us in terms of win-loss, our boys wanted to keep playing then, because it was just like, gee, I wonder if we can replicate that again the week after, and obviously it was the last home and away, so we couldn't. So we get a chance now to see how we go for this year, and at the moment everyone's at the starting box and getting ready for the season, and we're no different. So we've got a big challenge against GWS. They were so impressive against Collingwood. The whole football community's got so much regard for Collingwood and the way they've gone about it over the last couple of years. For GWS to knock them off, and the way that they played in particularly the second half of the year was really impressive. So we know we're going to need to play some of our best footy, if not our very best, to knock them off. But we want to see where we're at, and we get a chance early in the season to play some of these good sides to see exactly where we are at.
George, any chance of a debut that you can?
Yeah, well, they've been right in the mix, and they've played our pre-season games. Although Durs missed one of them against the Pies, where we just rested him with a slight knee. So they're right in the mix to play. We'll select later this afternoon, probably confirm Wednesday or Thursday. But they're as I said, we've got 42 players to select from, which is a really good position to be in as a club, but it makes it a bit tough for the coaching staff to just work out what the best mix is to go in with against GWS.
George Wardlaw spoke a bit about North Ball a few weeks ago. Can you give us a bit of an insight into that?
I'm not sure where it came with George, because every club in the competition calls it, Tigers ball or the Lions ball or whatever. It all depends on whether you've got the ball in your hands or not, and that's what George was referring to, is just the opportunity that we had with the ball in our hand. What did we do with it? So I wasn't terribly excited from within the walls of our footy club, but it was sort of made a little bit exciting on the outside of our footy club. But there's really nothing to it other than what do we do with the footy when we've got our opportunity with it in our hand.
Have you made some tweaks over the summer to your game plan? Or?
Yeah, I don't think there's a club in the competition that doesn't. The game continues to evolve, and every club in the competition is trying to stay ahead of what the the possible new trends might be in the game. And for us, we've got to play catch up just to get to the standard for a start, let alone whether or not we're trying to get ahead of the game. But every club's trying to do what they can to work out how they can get a little bit of an advantage, and we're no different. But as I said, we need to just put the hard work in just to get ourselves competitive on a week-to-week basis first and foremost, and that stuff will be down the track for us.
Was it helpful in a way to have a look at opening round to see what teams were doing in the first week, or would you prefer to have a game under your belt going into the GWS game?
No, I think it was a good initiative by the AFL to go into the northern markets for the opening round of the season, and whether we're included in that or not, that doesn't really faze me one way or the other. But we just know we got our first game this week. It's against GWS. It's interstate. We need to roll the sleeves up and get to work. So our blokes have been waiting around a long time for a chance to have a really good hit out against an opposition side where when it's round one, it's not practice matches, so everyone's going for it. So there's no holding back. So we want to see where we're at, and we'll hopefully get some evidence of that on Saturday night.
How's dry symptom going? So how's dry symptom going? Are you hopeful to play round two?
Well, as soon as he had that incident where he's concussed, he automatically triggered a set of protocols that were based on 3 concussions within 12 months. So he goes into a set of protocols now that are different than just the normal ones, and so that's really up to the AFL and the medicos to determine. But we're hopeful. I mean, in terms of the way he's feeling and all that sort of stuff, we'd hopefully be available for the next round. But we couldn't be certain. That's really up to the AFL and the medicos to determine that.
So he's feeling positive?
Yeah, he's feeling really good, yeah. So he's recovered as well as we could possibly hope for, and he's really just bound by the protocols now in terms of when he can return to play.
Just back on the opening round concept, Chris Scott last night was talking about how he felt that it sort of compromised, I guess, the competition a little bit with the fact that the other teams are getting 2 byes, if you don't count the opening round bye for you guys. Do you have a view on that at all?
Well, Scotty would know this better than any. It's just like there's compromises everywhere you look in our competition, and what the AFL are trying to do is market our game as best we possibly can, and sometimes that will come with a compromise here or there. So, listen, whether it's to do with home ground advantage, or whether it's to do with father-son, or whether it's to do with academies, whether it's to do with the draw. There's compromises everywhere in our game. By and large, I think the competition is in a really, really good position because there's so many teams that are wanting to get in the 8, and when you sort of say that there's 5 or 6 of those sides that actually really trying hard and should be getting in the 8, then you say to yourself, who's dropping out? So the competition is set up the way it's an equalisation model, socialistic model. And to actually create that, there's got to be some compromise. And to the defence of the AFL, they've actually done it pretty well. And at different stages, every different club has either benefited or been disadvantaged by it. This is just another example of it. So it's just like in their wisdom, they think that the best thing for our game, for the northern markets and for our market and television and all sorts of stuff when rugby league is vacant pretty much in those northern markets for that round of the season, then why not utilise it? And so that's what they've done. They've done a similar thing with Gather Round. Does that give an enormous leg up to Adelaide and Port Adelaide? Probably. I don't know. Home ground advantage again for those 2 clubs. But once again, there's compromises everywhere. So where do you draw the line on it? Other than us all, I think, appreciating the fact that their overarching philosophy with it is to have very, very competitive games of footy, and I think our competition is as close and as even as it's ever been.
Like there was a nice moment, you were sitting outside with Tristan and Calvi and a few of the coaches. Can you talk us through what was said in that little hole?
No, probably best just to stay amongst us. Other than to say they've had really, really good summers, both those boys, and we're looking forward to the year that they can have. They've been in the system for 5 or 6 years, and they're ready to make an impact and have an influence on our club and our team.
And we Todd gone, obviously there's a gap there. How much emphasis do you put on sort of covering that?
With Goldie gone? Yeah, listen, Goldie was such a great stalwart for our footy club. Really, really decorated servant and a really, really good player for a long, long period of time. But probably he, even in his own mind, I mean, it was a real credit to him last year that in his own mind, if you recall last year, he sat out round one so that Big X could get his opportunity, and then X in the first quarter of the first game of the year breaks his ankle. So Goldie had been working with X for 4 or 5 years as the succession plan, really, to when Goldie was going to hand over the baton, and we were expecting that to be last year, and then X got injured, so Goldie had to resume the mantle as number one for a fair period of time. So this has been in train for a period of time, even before I got to the footy club. So now I think part of the reason perhaps why Goldie did elect to go elsewhere was the really close relationship that he's got with X. He reckons he's ready, so I either retire or I go and find somewhere else to play. And that's what he's chosen to do by going to the Bombers. But it does allow Big X to get a chance to take on the number one mantle and just see how he goes at it.
And just Luke McDonald, was he good to go this weekend?
Yeah, he's ready to play. He's played the last 2 games. He's coming off a pretty severe hamstring tendon injury, which he's had before, so it's the second time that he's had to recover from this type of injury, both surgical repairs. In most instances, the competition's sort of saying now, do your pre-season, and then everyone play a couple of practice games, and then you'll be ready for round one. And for the most part, that's okay for the majority of players. For someone who's been through what he's been, we not certain, but we're probably on the side of giving him another week or two to get himself fully right and just give himself the best chance that when he does come back in, he can come back in to stay.
A really impressive spread of goal kickers from the Giants: Brown, Daniels, Hogan. How do you plan for that?
Pretty difficult, and that's what every team in the competition wants to have is potent weapons everywhere. And like I think Toby kicked one, I think. We're just like, for Toby Green to have lower impact on that game than what he usually would have. Yet they still beat the reigning premier by 5 goals. So Maynard probably did a pretty good job keeping Toby out of the game for the bulk of the game, but then 3 or 4 others pop up. That's utopia for a coach and a footy club when you've got that. So our challenge is to make sure our defence is working well enough that we can cover all those options, because if you just cover one, someone else is going to bob up, and that's the strength of the GWS side right at the present time. And we need to find out a way to try and negate that, and probably the best way is just to ensure they don't have the supply. But even that is really, really difficult against GWS, the way that they bounce off their back line, which we saw last week against the Pies too. So we're looking forward to the challenge. As I said, just to find out where we're at as a footy club. We've got a side that we're coming up against that were preliminary finalists last year, really stiff. They didn't play any granny, and then they've come out round one and knocked off the reigning premier. So at the very least, we'll get a really, really good feel for where we're at as a club.
Is Aidan Core a chance to come back and boost that back on?
Yeah, well, he's very similar to Luke McDonald. He had a pretty severe ankle injury just prior to Christmas, and he's played 2 games back now. And we just need to determine this week whether or not we think that's sufficient or whether he needs 1 or 2 more. But we'll make that call either this afternoon or tomorrow.
Cam Zerha's 100th game this weekend. Are you confident he'll remain at North beyond this year's contract?
Well, we're just really excited with what he brings to our footy club, and we're just really hopeful that he sees the club and the direction that we're going as being a place where he can play his best footy, and we're hopeful that he can start playing his best footy. He's been in the system now for probably the best part of 6 or 7 years. Pretty influential player. He plays in a pretty unique type of way, but we yet to see a full season of the best of Cam Zerha, and if we see that, then we think we're going to have a pretty special player. And if we see that, he's probably going to be Luke Davies-Uniacke and Big X, the ruckman who we spoke about, and Jaden Stevenson and Big CJ. There's a whole crew of guys that are sitting around the 24, 25 years of age. Nick Larkey, and he's stepped up in the last couple of years. There's other guys that have got capability to do that. If we're waiting for the younger players like the Dersmers and the McKirches and the Sheasels and these guys, if that's going to be the future of the football club, we're going to be waiting a fair period of time before we actually climb ourselves back up the ladder. We need this tier through the Cam Zurhaar bracket to actually take a step forward, and we think that they've all got that capability. He falls into that bracket well and truly. He could be a really, really influential player, and if he is, we get better, he gets better, and everything sorts itself out in terms of contract and that sort of stuff.
What have you made of Toby Pink's off-season? Obviously a great story, Sydney and Adelaide finally here. Yeah,
it is an exciting story, but it's such a common story. Of lads just aren't. Some players when they're drafted at 18 or 19 years of age, they're sort of forced to by the regulations of the game that says you have to draft them at 18. They more or less come out straight out of school and straight out of junior footy, and put them on an AFL list. When in some cases and some of them are relocated, they're dislocated from their family backgrounds, and so there's a significant challenge on just how they live their lives, let alone the challenge now of playing high level AFL footy. And some just aren't ready. I don't know whether Pinky was part of that. I'm trying to make judgment on why he didn't make it when he was at Sydney, but this is just so common. Then needs to find somewhere else to play his footy for 2 or 3 years, and then does that really, really well at Glenelg. And now he gets a second opportunity at 25 years of age or thereabouts, I think he is. So that's really exciting. He's had a great summer with us. Mature, reliable, safe player in our back end, and we're really hopeful he'll play a fair amount of footy for us throughout the course of the year.